I'm Troy Kirby with a quick look at the 2022 Washington State legislative session. The House Public Safety Committee heard public testimony on Engrossed Senate Bill 5919, which revises the legal standard of use of physical force by a peace officer, as well as a standard for a peace officer to detain or pursue suspects. The bill passed the Senate 31-18 and would have to pass the House in order to make its way to the governor's office for an opportunity to be enacted into law.
I think my message will be the same when I've talked about these bills during the session. This isn't any attempt to undo the police reforms we did last year, but just to clarify what they mean and make it easier for the police officers and law enforcement of our state to be able to do their job. I think that's the real goal and intent here is clarification.
By now, this committee has heard so many impacted family members of our coalition state their strong opposition to bills that roll back the reforms passed in 2021. This is not a clarification. This is an expansion. SB 5919 is no exception. Enough is enough. Impacted family members are so tired of repeating and re-traumatizing themselves, only to have these bills move forward because of politics, not because they're good policy. We've said this before, and I'll say it again. Vehicular pursuits are an inherently dangerous police tactic that exposes innocent motorists, pedestrians, the subject, and officers to risk. Pursuit should be used rarely, if at all.
Being in a vehicle should not be a get out of jail free card. And unfortunately, since the passage of the vehicular pursuits provisions of House Bill 1054 last year, that's exactly what we've seen. Our agencies have seen people flee a lawful detention in a vehicle time and time again, and it occurs daily throughout our state.
I am here in support of 5919, and the City of Auburn greatly appreciates the thoughtful and meaningful engagement that we've had with members of this committee, especially Chair Goodman, Vice Chair Johnson, and Member Orwell, in the ongoing effort to reimagine policing in our communities. In no way have our conversations been in opposition to this effort, but only seeking clear direction for our officers and our residents for the shared goal of community caretaking and safety.
On Saturday, this last Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. in Spokane's Riverfront Park, approximately 150 people gathered to rally against laws we see as harmful to our community. The temperature started at 39 degrees and it only dropped, but the majority of people remained outside almost 2 hours for a chance to access a folding table where 3 laptops were set up so that they could sign in con against this bill. We feel 5919 would expand the use of vehicle pursuits, a tactic that is dangerous for everyone driving on Washington streets, including one day my kiddo.
This bill will strike a much-needed balanced approach that provides our law enforcement the tools they need to keep our communities safe while retaining the important principles of police accountability that were passed in 2021. A common misconception about this bill is that it will roll back the progress made last year, and that is simply not the case.
The essential purpose of pursuit is to apprehend an offender. If this apprehension can be accomplished by means other than pursuit, then law enforcement should try to use them. When offenders are known, they can probably be apprehended without chases in their homes or in places they frequent.
I believe our jobs here are really based on voluntary compliance. And what we've seen in the last 9 months statewide, and we've also seen it here in Columbia County and Port Angeles, is people who think that law enforcement cannot pursue them. And that actually has created sort of the opposite of what the legislature might have intended. And we're seeing pursuits that may or may not have happened. What's important for us is the ability to pursue.
As with Bill 2037, we are extremely troubled that this bill is being used not only to undo protections passed just last year, but will expose the community to even greater danger from law enforcement during these stops than before.
You're told as a lawyer attending these hearings constantly by judges that probable cause is a very low standard. And so what you're really doing by lowering this to reasonable articulable suspicion is to a standard that's vanishing, essentially an illusion.
The priority concern for WACOPS is not to avoid change, but to ensure any change will enable all officers to provide the services that they need. our group of rank and file officers have experienced the frustration this year and the pain caused by our inability to help the mentally ill and to help victims of crime.
I'm proud to be the mayor of a city where our officers embrace the role of peace officer, where data reveals a very low rate of use of force, where leadership supported many of the 2021 bills to reimagine policing. But I'm also the mayor who wants accountability when crimes are committed against innocent people, and who wants to give our men and women of law enforcement clear expectations and the ability to act without hesitation. In some cases, we've tipped the balance the wrong way and unfairly hamstrung our officers with doubt instead of decisiveness.
As you know, I testified con on HB 1788, so you've already heard my concerns with that bill. The amended version mitigated some of its worst aspects, so the striker will also reduce the harm here. But I remain opposed because I believe that lowering the standard to reasonable suspicion and removing the consideration of alternatives for apprehension, that is not a clarification, it's a rollback.
I'm Jim Farrell, mayor of Federal Way. I've been mayor for the past 8 years. I can tell you that we've been very concerned about the laws that were passed last year. We've had to terminate well over 80 pursuits where we had well beyond reasonable suspicion, but not completed probable cause. It's literally made our community less safe.
There's a wild, wild west atmosphere down here in the South Sound. Criminals are running amok, carjackings, car thefts, break-ins, burglaries, robberies, assaults, shoplifting. This has fostered a vigilante culture, putting people in danger, trying to perform police functions, trying to stop crime, recovering stolen goods. I urge you to correct the deficiencies in these reform bills that were passed last session.
But there will be a few times when we must use some measure of force, whether it's helping someone in crisis, protecting an innocent victim, or detaining someone attempting to leave the scene of a crime, what we call Terry stops.
Thank you for watching the 2022 Washington State Legislative Session.